Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. My name is Sherm. You guys are some true Chicagoans for coming out in January. It's snowing outside, it's freezing, and you're at the fucking club at 1 a.m.
Boys with the bass, yeah, boys, bass.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Free food, free drinks, music, girls. Let's go.
Do you like it? Cool. If you don't, goodbye.
I'm missing the most important part.
Boys with the bass, yeah.
We should throw like a crazy bar mitzvah party.
This is crazy. Send me stems. I finished it.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Just wait, you know it kicks in like 3 to 5 seconds afterward.
Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and as always, we've got a very special interview for you guys today. As many of you know, I love to have guests on that are behind the scenes in the music industry because they are a pivotal factor as artists grow throughout their career. Today's guest is someone who does exactly that. Episode 231 features Todd Mercer of Sherwood Management, who oversees Cloverdale and his Vibrancy label along with Vibrancy Fest. Now, I know many of you are familiar with the high-octane DJ producer Cloverdale, but you need to know Todd was there on day one for the project. In fact, Cloverdale was the one who said I need to have Todd on because he brings such a fresh and unique perspective for building a brand, and I couldn't agree more. This interview was incredible. It goes without saying how great of a dude Todd is, but I learned so much from him during our time. He talked about how to look at artist brands as a business, but also how to maintain the authenticity without compromising too much for short-term opportunities. He provided insight on how they've built Cloverdale's label Vibrancy to become one of the most well-respected and welcoming labels in dance music, along with so many more valuable and awesome topics. Todd is also very deep in planning the third Vibrancy Fest, which occurs each year in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The festival brings people from all over North America and different parts of the world and has become the premier event for dance music in Halifax. Previous headliners include legends of dance music like Tiga, Green Velvet, Jay Wara, DJ Susan, and more. These are some of my favorite interviews because I basically get free advice from self-taught and self-made professional like Todd. But no matter what stage you are at as an artist, Todd has some unique insight for you. You got my word. Now, enough of me talking, let's get into it right now so you can hear his story for yourselves. This is episode 231 with Todd Mercer. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Sherm in the Booth. I am here with someone that I have a great amount of respect for and so much love, Todd Mercer. If you don't know who he is, he's Cloverdale's manager who I've had on the show before and a good friend of mine as well. He also is your label manager of Vibrancy as well.
Yes, sir.
So you are doing a lot of things in the music industry, my friend, on the back end. And, we talked about Mario Danza before we got on. You guys are some of my favorite people to talk to. I really mean it when I say, like, you guys are like the lifeblood of the industry. You gain so much insight throughout your experiences going on these journeys with artists on the come up. So I'm pumped for everyone to get your story today and learn some of your experiences, good and bad.
Thanks, buddy. And same goes to you. We've been emailing for a long time, and
Yeah.
I know that you've been in this grind forever, and I love it and respect it. And also, I just want to add, I manage Cloverdale, and I also am working with this really cool new artist called Chasing Luma.
Cool.
I've been working with Cloverdale for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
I've been working with Chasing Luma for about 5 months.
Cool.
And and then we do Cloverdale's Vibrancy label. Me and him run that together. And also we put on Vibrancy Festival in Halifax. And the third annual is coming up in July. So we're super fired up about that.
Dude, congratulations on that. Was Susan on the first one, I think?
He was.
I don't listen, man. I want to jump right into that because you guys just announced it. You're putting on a motherfucking festival in downtown Halifax. Didn't you guys get a grant from the city?
So we work with the festival. We work on that in conjunction with the city. So it's
That's
like
so
a
cool.
city event. Yeah, it's really cool. So Halifax is amazing for promoting cultural events, and they really respect dance music
Cool.
as part of the culture. And it's really crazy because you don't get that in a lot of places. We had Dead Mouse on Canada Day like a few years ago. Like that was a city event. And we had Green Velvet play in front of City Hall two
Yep.
years ago.
Yep.
Like just crazy. And yeah, the city is really cool and loves to support our dance music culture.
That's so cool, man. And I think Canada is a funny place. It's really pretty incredible. I've been a few times. I've actually never played in Canada, but I know like people that are from Western Canada, then there's Eastern Canada, like Toronto, and then there's like, getting into like French Canada, and then there's like Halifax, and you just mentioned Newfoundland, that's like all the way out there.
Yeah, there's
What can
really East Canada.
Yeah, really east, like past New York. I'm in Chicago and New York is 1 hour ahead, and Todd is 2 hours ahead of me. So it's 9:15 out there right now. What is
I'm ready for bed, man.
yeah, I bet. Thanks for staying up late for me. What is like culturally is it like out there? I mean, you just mentioned how much the city in that part of Canada gives back to the culture, but what can you tell us like comparatively to other parts of Canada in terms of the people, the music, the culture, everything?
Yeah, it's small,
Yeah.
it's really nice. I mean, Halifax is a really growing city. Where I live is like
Yeah.
it's like 30,000 people.
Wow.
And it's just chill and people fish and people just we I live in a really beautiful part of the world. It's called Cape Breton, Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we have a lot of tourism and golf, and it's like a cold version of the Caribbean.
Didn't think I'd ever hear that. The cold version of the Caribbean. That sounds amazing though, man. Like a really peaceful lifestyle. Are most people from there like you, or like do people
Yeah,
from? Yeah, got it. So that's where you're
absolutely.
from.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the Midwest where I'm from in Indiana, man. Like a lot of people stay. I mean, I'm in Chicago, which isn't too
Yeah.
far away, but there's a
You just
culture
love it.
associated with that. You just love it, man. It's what you know.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can travel anywhere.
Yeah, you
If
can.
I want to come see you in Chicago, I'll come see you in Chicago.
Yeah, that's fucking right, man. It's not the Arctic Circle by any means.
Exactly.
That's probably what some people think. They're like, Newfoundland. Where the fuck is that?
What is that? What?
Yeah, what is
What
that?
did you just say?
Yeah. Oh man. So Vibrancy Fest. So when you guys throw this? This is in July?
Yeah, actually, it's been in August the last couple of years, but this year it's in July because we secured an unbelievable location. So traditionally we do it outside of City Hall,
Hmm.
and this year we decided to go a little bit bigger, and we were able to convince there's this fort like that's in the middle of downtown, like a literal fortress from the 1800s, and it's called Citadel Hill National Historic Site. And we convinced the government to let us do it there.
The government.
And yeah, and they were like, you can do it in July. And so we were like, we're doing it in July. So it's
Dude.
going to be crazy. It's like literally like inside the walls of a fortress, like on top of a hill that's in the middle of downtown.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I just have this image in my head of like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or some shit like that. Just epic and like
Oh yeah.
a more modern
Oh yeah.
setting.
It's awesome. I'll send you some pics after this, but yeah, it's going to be really cool. And so like we'll have room for like 2,500 people. So it's not like a huge festival, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've got a really cool lineup that's not announced yet. So if you're interested in coming up to Halifax, Nova Scotia, it's a banger every year.
Tickets are on sale.
Soon.
You announced that
we
you're building
we
up the
like to
hype.
do things last minute.
Yeah, of course. It's the best, especially when you're putting on an entire event.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. So Why Vibrancy Fest? Obviously, this is the label that you guys run together. Did you ever think of making it a new entity, or is it kind of lean into like the morals and the values of what Vibrancy represents?
Honestly, like the morals and values of Vibrancy have been to really give back to the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not bound by genres. We're all about progress and innovation. And so we just thought that that was perfect for the festival because, the festival, it isn't house, it isn't techno, it isn't, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just good music, good people, good fun. We try to, make all of the shows super inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
The fans get a really like cool, intimate experience. We always try to build the stages so that everyone could be close to the action. And yeah, I mean, that's what we're about. We're about giving back to the community. We always have a bunch of free events
Mm-hmm.
that happen like as part of the festival, and all ages free events. And yeah, we just try to grow the culture at home.
So cool, dude. I mean, major respect for you and Cloverdale and everyone really involved. I mean, how many people are actually like in the room where it happens that are like, getting it organized? Who's on the team? Like 10
Yeah,
people?
there's like four or five.
That's it?
And yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. And we've got you know a couple of awesome friends that help us out, and a couple of really good friends but also that work for the city.
Mhm.
And yeah, we just pull our socks up and get her done.
Pull our socks up. Fuck, man. I'm stealing some lines from you. You guys. That's so cool. Especially the fact that you get to do it in the city, right? I mean, I know you guys did it in front of City Hall, and I remember seeing all the videos and Susan FaceTime me. And I think what was so cool about the event, but also you, Todd, is how much you really care about the artist experience. And I think that goes back into the fan experience. You picked Sue up from the airport, you drove him back to the airport. I actually ran into Jay Wara in Amsterdam, and I said, we were just talking, and I said, dude, that Vibrancy Fest looks so sick. She was like, the hospitality was amazing. The crowd was so cool, and you're like really building something special, man. Like that resonates with me as a fan, as an artist. So I just want to show you guys props for what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we just love it, and it's so much fun. And I hope that we can keep doing it for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. It's the start of something beautiful. I mean, 3 years in a row, you guys are on a roll, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. We're already planning for next year.
You do. You literally do. Every time I talk to someone who's doing festivals, like before they even announce, they're like, yeah, we got this person, but we got this person for next year. I'm like, it's what do you mean? It's not even that's 2 years away. You have to think
Yeah,
about that though, like logistically, especially with some of these artists and radius clauses or whatever you want to call it.
yeah. Well, and a lot of the house and techno artists spend a lot of the summer in Europe,
Yeah.
so you need to get in before they start blocking their calendar for Europe.
So true. Well, now you're definitely there. There's like multiple types of demand in dance music that I always think about. There's obviously the fan aspect, right? Like, am I willing to travel high and low to go to this festival like EDC, which is coming up, for example, right? People go from all over the world. Ultra to Lollapalooza, you mentioned.
Are you going to EDC?
I'm not going to EDC. No, I've actually never been, but like it's an experience type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because these days, like if you've been a dance music fan for a certain period of time, it's pretty likely you've seen your favorite artist probably multiple times, maybe in different cities. And especially if you live in a Chicago, New York, LA, Miami, I mean, every market in the US, it's going crazy right now. And now I believe it's really about the experience. Like, what am I going to walk away from? Like, is this going to be comfortable? Like you said, room to dance. Dude, I was just in
yeah,
Vegas last weekend, and I was like with some friends who we were backstage. I was like literally on one leg with my arms up in the air because I couldn't stand anywhere. I was like, this is sick, but it's hard for me to have fun. And I
yeah,
think you get that at a lot of places these days because they're trying to make money back, they're trying to fill the dance floor, whatever it is, right? So
yeah.
people want to go to a show, festival, whatever it is, that's going to be a good environment where it's logistically sound, shit, man, I'm getting
Yeah.
older. I'm like, how do we get there and back? Like, what's that going to be like? What's the Uber situation, Right. And then
You
there's,
just dated yourself.
I did, Todd. That's very important to me, is how easily can we get
What
back?
time does it end?
My
This
wife,
is over at midnight, right?
yeah, so we're gonna leave at about 11:30, right? Maybe 11:25, beat the rush hour, beat the traffic. Yeah, that's 100% me. Thanks, Todd. I need to be called out sometimes. But
That's
what
funny.
as an artist now, I think about like, what's it going to be like for me to travel to this place, right? So I think what you guys are doing, where you're doing it, it's really cool. I think artists and agents and managers are going to say, this is one, not only a really cool thing that they're doing, but it's a new market. And three, I think it's going to be really fun for you. Like, can we get back
Yeah.
to that sometimes as an artist? Like, not just taking the highest paying show or whatever's the most legit looking, but what's going to be an experience for me as an artist? I think that's
Yes.
lost sometimes for whatever reason.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And I'm 100% with you. And I think, there's a lot of amazing festivals, and a lot of your points are so true. But that's what's so great about Vibrancy Festival is, this is a not for profit, and so we can make some sacrifices to make sure that this show is a once in a lifetime experience. Like, we're gonna spend extra on the production to make it look crazy cool.
Yep.
And we're gonna limit the cap so that everyone has room to dance and have fun.
Yep.
We're gonna give out free water because we want people to stay hydrated. That's like a huge thing for us. We just want it to be fun. We want it to be a good experience, and we want the artists to have a great time. And I mean, let's bring that back.
Let's bring that back. Free water for all, for goodness sake. God gave us water. Let us drink it, please. Speaking of water, how much do you think a little bottle of Fiji in Vegas costs?
Oh, Jesus.
Like,
I don't even want to know.
The little ones, like the one
at least $12.
$14.
Oh God.
For
that's
water
American
in the desert.
That's like $30 Canadian.
That's highway robbery, man. Jesus. It's like,
oh man.
God, man, I know, but that's besides the point. Anyway, major props to Vibrancy Fest and everybody involved. But Todd, you mentioned before we even went live, and I didn't know this about you. I mean, I know you're a extremely hardworking and educated guy. You've been working with Cloverdale for a long time. How did you actually enter the music industry? Like, what's your previous life like, and how did it actually cross over to what you're doing now?
Oh man, that's a great question, because I grew up playing drums, and I grew up being like, computer music. that stuff sucks.
yeah, for sure.
And then one day in 2008 or 2009, I was at a death metal show. The band was called the Ballroom Massacre, and in between their sets, the sound guy was like putting some music on, and I just hear this thing in the background like, and I was like, dude, what is this? And he's like, it's this new guy, Skrillex. And I just grabbed my coat and went home and listened to Skrillex for the rest of the night. And
yes,
and discovered UKF dubstep and Monster Cat in the same night. And I was like,
that's
okay,
a big fucking night, dude. So, you fucking hot and sweaty getting in and all that.
Oof. Yeah. Don't look at my YouTube history.
Okay.
It's all 2006 dubstep.
Yeah, I love that. No, for sure.
And
logo, man. How iconic is that shit?
So yeah, I just fell in love with I fell in love with electronic music, and I started DJing, and then it was just kind of funny. Like, I started DJing and started going to shows in Halifax, and there was some promoters that were booking some really cool shows, and I'm a sober guy. I don't drink. And so they would always ask me to be the driver.
Oh God.
So I would drive a lot of the artists.
Not what you signed up for, but what you eventually
Yeah.
had to do, right?
Yeah. So I just like was like, yeah, I'll hang out with these guys.
Yeah.
And so ended up meeting a ton of people, from the music industry coming up, like Loud Pack was in Halifax with Kenny
Nice.
Beats,
Yes.
early Kenny Beats, and
Wow.
Party Favor, who, Cloverdale ended up opening for Side Piece a ton, which is
Yep.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
And Dr. Fresh, TJR, and Chris Lorenzo. Like there's just, everyone that rolled through town, we were hanging out. And then all of a sudden I met Alex, and he was living with my friend Jarrett, and they started this duo called Cloverdale, and they were like, hey, like, can you be our manager? I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm
So
in.
they approached you really early on, like, because he was doing
Yeah.
AWOL project before that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I've been with Cloverdale since literally day one.
Dude.
Yeah. And so yeah, we just all started learning together, and it's been a lot of fun. Still learning tons.
Of course. So is there a reason that you didn't continue to pursue your own music career? Did you just become more, I guess, interested in the business end of it?
Oh, I can't write music.
I get it.
I'm better at the keyboard. This keyboard.
Yes, sure, absolutely. Do you still DJ though for fun at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Okay.
I love DJing. I haven't played in a show in a long time, but
Dude.
I mean, I love love the music, and I mean that's why we do this, right? Like we love music, we love supporting our friends, we love helping people, like, that's why you do it.
So true, man. Wait, what was your DJ name? Because your name is already a great name, by the way. Was it Todd?
It was called Not Even Todd.
Not even Todd. Okay, what's the story there?
Oh man. Me and my buddies used to just like joke around, like if you're walking down the street and there's this like huge jack guy walking towards you, you would be like, that guy's not even jacked.
Yeah.
And so then it was just natural to become Not Even Todd.
That's so funny. I would make that joke with my friends too, like something like
Yeah.
that, like she's not even hot, dude. He's not even jacked.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, that guy's not even hot.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, not even hot.
Oh my God, dude. That's amazing. You jumped in on the Cloverdale project from like day one, and gosh, what a journey it's been for you guys. Obviously, I had Cloverdale on, got his full story. I've really been a fan of him for so long. But over the past couple of years, it's just been so dope to see his growth. And he comes up all the time on the podcast. I don't even think I've told him this. I know he's seen a few clips, but I've talked about you guys in Vibrancy and how awesome I think just like the whole brand, like I said, like the message that you guys have, which is just be yourself. Like Cloverdale, I love what he just posted the other day. He was like, I convinced In Rotation to let me release 140 BPM like tech. And I'm like, fuck yeah, because like that's you, bro, and like
exactly
his high octane tech house, like it's so good, and like he's released a lot of different types of music, but it's always Cloverdale. And I always, when I talk to artists that are asking for advice, or when I talk to experienced artists, it's just about like staying true to who you are, even if that sound evolves and changes. How have you, from your perspective and working with Alex, seen him change like sonically? Has that like come with his experiences? He's a very, very proficient and skilled producer, but that hasn't happened overnight. Have you seen those things happen at the same time, or has he always been sort of quirky with his sound, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, dude, it's been so cool. And you hit the nail on the head. Like authenticity is number one.
Mhm.
And Alex and I talk about this all the time. And one of the main reasons why we started the label was to support other artists and also give Cloverdale a platform to completely be himself, you know? And sometimes it's hard to sign records, you know, if you're being a little weird or you're trying something a little new.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're just kind of like, we're not leaving that song on the hard drive, you know, let's get it out. And because it is you. And you know, the other thing too about doing self-releases is you can finish a song and you can distribute it, it could be out in a couple of weeks. And so then that's like a really accurate picture of who you are and where you are right now.
Yeah.
Instead of releasing a song on a label that you wrote 8 months ago and it's like, you know, this is what I was 8 months ago. This isn't what I was now. And so, you know, with Alex, his progression and his evolution has been, you know, completely based on just like what he loves and what he's vibing to. And, you know, it really has nothing to do with trends, or he's just taking his inspirations and he's melting them together. And you know, the guy spends a crazy amount of hours in the DAW.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what it's all about, is, you know, just putting in the time and like you said, finding your sound and finding your style and just always being yourself and putting it out.
So true, man. And this has definitely been a hot topic, and I've always felt that way too. I mean, last year my highest stream song was self-released, right? So
yeah,
I think people's expectations of what a label is going to do for them are way too high, because a label is just a medium or a vehicle to help you get into a different network that follows that label. That label is not going to take you on a world tour. That label is not going to make you a rich artist. That label is not going to give you all these things that you think magically happen. You know what does? Your fans that create the demand, pay for the tickets, buy your music, buy your merch. And that is what Cloverdale and Vibrancy and you guys have done. There is such a dedicated following for him, right? Like, I know you guys do a lot of different things, right? Of course, I just mentioned all those things. Merch, you guys do mentorships, studio rates. I know plenty of people that have gone to Cloverdale and learned from him. He offers tons of different things.
Sample packs, Cloverdale Studio YouTube channel.
Yep.
The Discord. You know, there's just tons of, you know, giving back to the homies. And you know, you were talking about, you know, labels, and I think that's such an important point, because there are so many awesome labels that helped us early on.
Definitely.
And it's all about managing that expectation, right? And, you know, it's the label can only do so much. You also have to do your part, right? And that's something that we actually see a lot running Vibrancy is, you know, some artists really give it their all and they give us lots of ammo to work with. And, you know, like we can't, like, we can do, there's this, you know, certain amount of things that we can do to get your music in the hands of, you know, as many people as we can. Right. But then, you know, you got to do your part too. And so, you know, that was our big thing. Like when we were signing records early on to labels, we were getting on phone with those people and saying, okay, what else can we do? How can we make this easier for you? You know, can we do an Instagram live? Can we do, you know, this type of video? And we weren't asking for budgets, and we weren't asking for, you know, it's like, no, we don't have any money, and we understand that.
It was the label,
we understand that this track isn't going to get 1 million streams. So like, we're not going to ask you for $5,000, you know, to do this thing. It's like, no. It's like, we are DIY people. And, you know, that's basically the way you have to be in the music industry these days. Like, if you're making music but you can't edit videos or use Photoshop, like very basically, like, what are you doing? You gotta have other skills. You gotta be able to do this stuff yourself, because because you can't afford to have other people do it for you.
For sure.
And so like, we signed a lot of records early on to a lot of labels, and we just kind of said, hey, what can we do to make this better for everybody, right?
Yep.
And so then, whenever we did a track, we felt like we got the most out of that track, right? And what the label brings is some really good ideas and a new and different audience. And and then you get to mix in your own self releases and build in your own audience, and by self releases I mean like Vibrancy.
Yeah.
And being able to learning how to be able to do both of those pretty early on, I think was really important for our success. And one thing that I preached from day one is it's this old article by the TechCrunch founder, Kevin Kelly, and it's called 1,000 True Fans.
Yeah.
And if you have 1,000 true fans, you have a career.
You do.
Like, you don't need to go viral. You don't need 200,000 followers on Instagram.
Nope.
You need 1,000 true, real fans. And those people will buy whatever you sell.
Yeah.
They'll go to some of your shows.
Yep.
They're gonna hang out and chat. If you're doing like a crazy event, they're gonna come. Like if it's online, like one time we did this thing where Cloverdale DJ'd and painted a picture, and then we auctioned off the picture, and it was like it was so bad. Like, it was the worst painting ever. But someone was like, I want that. And and so it's like, you need 1,000 of those people. And how do you get 1,000 of those people is you gotta give more than you receive, and you gotta be authentic, and you can then connect with the right people, the real ones.
Yep. Gosh, Todd, I love that. I didn't know it was the TechCrunch guy who actually said that. That's
Yeah.
Because 1,000
Yeah.
fans, it's attainable, man, for anybody. It really is. Like, you don't have to spend the whole lifetime chasing numbers when you think about just getting in front of the right people. And guess what? That gives you the ability to be you unapologetically, which will last a lifetime, because it's really hard to, that imposter syndrome theory that everybody talks about, like, especially with social media, we compare ourselves to the 0.1% of artists out there. Why am I not doing this? Why can't I do that? Well, that wasn't good enough. This song isn't streaming well enough. Do you enjoy what you do, and does it resonate with your fans? Because that's the whole point of this shit.
Yeah. And this is a grind. Like, like, you got to be doing this for a long time sometimes until it starts to click. But every step of the way, you're meeting awesome people, you're learning new things, and there's another thing that Alex and I always say is there's basically no such thing as an overnight success.
Yeah.
And all these acts that you see that kind of look like an overnight success, almost every time you look into them, it's like, oh, they went under a different alias before.
Yeah.
Or, they did something else before. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're really, I can't think of one overnight success in dance music right now off the top of my head, because it's almost impossible.
It is. I would say I don't even truly overnight. Maybe the shortest timeline would be like Martin Garrix, but like that's not a thing anymore, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
dude, yeah, that's honestly probably the best example, and that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, dude. Like, and he's had a world of pressure on him since then. And I think there are so many aspects of being an artist that people talk about, but aren't really about. And I think that's like the mental health aspect, like surrounding yourselves with the right people, a good community. People ask me, how do you do it? How do you, make time? And I'm like, it's not a matter of how I make time. Like, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? Like, we've all heard that before. But I surround myself with people that encourage me and believe in me And that's what I do because I'm inspired by that, right? It's like I
Yeah.
have a lot of dark moments as an artist, where you feel like you're not getting the support. The song didn't do as well. I mean, I saw who posted this recently. Somebody just said recently, it's like the videos that you put the most work into, that you're the most excited about, are the songs that you put out there. They just do the worst. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, right? Songs that go viral, videos that go viral, it's the ones you least expect. But
Yeah.
it's a really good feeling when I just put out a video and I'm really proud of that, like a podcast clip or a raw clip of a new song or a fun piece of content. And I'm just like, I don't care how it does, because one view, if that one person laughs or smiles or shares it or learns something, then that's worth it for me. That's fulfilling.
Yeah. And it's an accurate representation of you, not you trying to be, someone that goes viral, or you trying to be something else, right? And, 20 years from now, when you're 30 years old and you're looking back and, you're like, yeah, that was me. That video flopped, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. That video flopped, but it was hilarious, dude. I mean, there's so many things that you said there that resonate with me on a personal level. I think what I've learned is, especially as even an artist at my level, and I still have so much to accomplish, but I'm practicing self-gratitude. I'm being humble about the opportunities that I'm been given. I just told you I wrapped up a tour. I've really been soaking that in. I earned that. I got those spots.
Yes.
I worked hard. I performed well. Like, give yourself some flowers, right? And I don't think a lot of artists actually do that. It's always what's next, what's next, what's next. And I think when it comes to music specifically and releasing music, the reason I say, like, I had the tour, I release these shows. Without Hood Politics, I wouldn't really be releasing on a label, because it is really hard to get on a label, because this, we're running labels, so much good music out there. So many demos coming in, and it's hard.
How many demos do you get a day? Hood Politics.
Like 100, probably 75 or 100. It depends. It's crazy.
Yeah. So how many demos do you think Night Base gets every day?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Right? Like, it's
like all the repopulate. It's crazy.
Like, if Hood Politics is getting 2,000 demos a month, Repopulate's getting
5, 6,
25, 30,000. Like, it's like crazy. Like,
it's crazy. And like, they're not all high quality, but you still need to sift through, because you want to find that needle in a haystack. So I think what's valuable is, let's say I do find a track, right? And it's this artist I haven't heard of before, and it really stands out. First question I ask, what other music do you have? Right? I look at their brand. I think about who they are. How do they align with our values of Hood Politics? I know you guys probably do that with Vibrancy too. And that's a huge factor. And if I see that this artist has barely released music, it's really high quality, but they're holding on to so much, probably because they're trying to get on a label. It's almost like you're trying too hard. And I don't like that. It's not authentic. You need to just get your music out there. And I said this in a video that Alex actually commented on and shared, and I was so grateful for that, because I brought him up. Him and Susan, they started labels for various reasons, but it's so they could give themselves a platform to have their music heard. Through that medium, they now have demand to get releases on Helix, on In Rotation, on Insomniac, on House Call, like all these things, right? What's it been like for you guys in the background with Cloverdale when you're thinking about building the brand awareness? Are you guys setting goals to get releases, or are you thinking, what are you guys thinking about, like, I guess, in the decision room, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Honestly, man, like, we just want to release a lot of music. And we want to, like, release on some cool labels and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, let's put out a track every month. Like, let's not miss a month, because you're a music producer, right? And so you make music, you have to release music.
You do.
And we don't care where, right? And it's like, let's release as much music as we can. And honestly, man, like, and Alex would tell you this too, like, last year we kind of tried something a little bit different, and it was the first year in like 5 years where we didn't put out a track, like, basically every month. And we tried to have quality over quantity, we tried to go for like some big collabs that like
Okay.
came together and then fell apart.
Okay.
Right. And we tried to go for some like big time releases, and they were looking like they were going to come to fruition, and they didn't. And so what happened, right? Like we just ended up not putting out a lot of music. And so we really felt that momentum like go away, just because like he still played 60 shows last year and played all over America and Canada,
Yeah.
and like it was the most shows he ever played in a year, but it was the least music he ever released. And now we're like we're getting that momentum back.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the fans and Spotify and like, the people want the music. And we realized that, when we had like a, 5 or 6 month gap in the schedule, that people were hungry
Mm-hmm.
for that music. And we needed to get back to our true selves, which is writing lots of music and putting it out there.
Yeah.
And so, I'm glad we learned that lesson, because I think there's a lot of people that try to do that, and maybe there's a right time to do that, but but I don't think it was the right time for us. And so yeah, so I mean, our big thing is, get the music out, and don't like, artists out there listening, like, learn how to self-release. And this is something that we talked about before we started recording. But one thing that I say to a lot of artists that don't have a manager and they're looking for a manager and all this stuff, I tell them you got to learn how to do all this stuff yourself, because then you can hold your future manager accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know how all this stuff works, you know how this works in the back end, or at least just a very basic knowledge, and if you get good at doing self-releasing, coming up with a release plan and executing on that, that just prepares you for the future, and it allows you to take control of your career. And I think that's like crazy important. You should have, the ability to self-release. You should have your own mailing list of people that love you, that you own, because you can have 100,000 followers on TikTok, but if TikTok gets banned in the US, now what do you got? Right?
Dude,
like,
anything can
you
be
gotta
taken away from you. It's so true.
Yeah, so you gotta own at least part of your career. You gotta release with labels and stuff like that, but like, you don't need a pub deal right now. You don't need a big time record deal right now. You don't need a manager. Like, you can learn how to do this stuff and get good at it, and build your own leverage, and build your own career, and own it. And then you have options.
So true, Todd. And you know what I heard actually from our good friend Carlos Sid. He told me years ago, said, Sherm, before you ever get a manager or an agent, you should get a lawyer. He goes, you need to know how to read contracts. You need to know what mechanical licensing is. You need to know what you're signing up for. And I think those are all important things that people underestimate, especially up and coming artists. Like, you need to be equipped. And that's up to you. Like you said, ammo, like you need to find ways to give yourself ammo in all these different verticals. You don't have to be perfect at these things. I want artists to know that. But you have to put yourself out there, find your own strategy and way. Like when I released Toxic, right? That's the tour that I went on to promote this song. Over the past 6 months to a year, every track that I've released, I've tried to do a new rollout, right? So I said, this is one of my best tracks I've ever made. I'm going to go boots on the ground, grassroots marketing into these new markets, play this song at the core of the set, announce that I'm on this tour. Here's my song. And it's like getting the most authentic love that I've ever gotten for a song, right?
That's so cool.
So cool, right? I've done really short lead time, like to hype it up. I've done like months of lead time, kind of teasing it and stuff. And so I'm learning, like, when the time comes for me to hopefully release on these big labels one day, that they're gonna go, Sherm, what's your strategy for releasing this track? And I'm gonna go, I know it's gonna work perfectly with your guys' audience. I know it's gonna resonate with mine, and here's how we can win together. And I love that you said that earlier, because if you do want to collaborate with labels, it's not just gonna magically happen for either of you. It's a partnership, it's a marriage, right? It's an agreement. You're signing a contract. Like, what are you
I
giving
can't tell.
away? What are they giving you? Vice versa.
I can't tell you how many times I see this where, like, people just sign a track and then they put the track out, you know, and it's like you didn't call the A&R, the label, and have a
Yeah.
chat, and like,
Nothing,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? It's like literally like the like an incredibly simple thing you can do to stand out amongst the crowd is pick up the phone. That's like
So true.
literally that puts you ahead of 90% of people, right?
More,
Maybe
95%
more.
in my opinion, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and then just, back to like, doing self-releasing and like building an audience and, building like a mailing list and stuff like that. Like, you get 500 people on your MailChimp, or you get 1,000 people on your MailChimp, and then, then you're going to labels and you're like, okay, I'm gonna send a blast out to my 1,000 fans on MailChimp, like
Yep.
the day this comes out. Can you guys help me with that email? Or can you guys, you know what I mean? It's like they're gonna be like, yeah, let's go.
Yep. Exactly. And then you can use that label's audience and network to help grow your own following. But you need to have something to offer, because let's not forget that we're in a subjective industry where people have an opinion on your art, which can make it difficult to grow, and
Yeah.
also why it can take a long time. But if you think about, if you're a new artist releasing on a new label, like it's funny, I always set up calls with the artists who release on Hood Politics, or I at least connect with them in some way. I say, here's our usual strategy, here's what we can offer. I'd really encourage you, right? And I say it, I'm a salesman, so I say it in like a salesman director way. I'd really encourage you to show us how you made this track, why you love this track, why you're excited to release on Hood Politics. Put your face out there, like come up with a video. I'm not asking you for, Hollywood movie quality, but tell us who you are and tell us what this song means to you, because that connects with
Yeah.
people.
Dude,
So
put your face out there is like literally day one Cloverdale. Me and Alex and Jarrett, we were like, you gotta put your face out there and you gotta use your real name. Like,
you do.
that just makes people connect with you immediately, right?
Yep.
It's like, someone's like, oh, do you know Dead Mouse? And it's like, yeah, Joel.
Joel,
you
yeah,
know,
Joel,
and you're
yeah.
like such a bigger, like you're a bigger fan because you
True.
know that, right?
So true.
One other thing too, like just related to what you're saying is, you, the thing about growing here too, and like doing these label releases and putting yourself out there. There's this thing called the rule of seven, and I think the author is Jeffrey Lant, and he basically says you need to have at least 7 points of contact before you've entered the buyer's consciousness.
It's
And
true.
so in this case, it's, you need to have 7 or more points of contact with a potential fan to even enter their realm of consciousness. And I think that was written like many years ago, like probably more than a decade ago. And so I would argue that that number now is probably like 20 or more, because we are seeing so much content all the time. And, we are exposed to so much. And so, like, literally, if you just think, like, I don't know, like, how you discover music, but like, basically, like, one thing that I do is I go to like my favorite editorial playlists every Friday, and I scroll through and I, listen to as much as I can, right? And then I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, how many times do I have to see an artist's name, and even how many times do I have to like their song before I'm like, oh, I should follow them on Instagram?
Yeah. Oh, The conversion,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, like it's super high. Like I have to see that person so much before I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make the jump and be a follower of this
Yep.
person. And then I'm still not like a true fan. You know what I mean? I'm a casual fan at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's taken dozens of interactions with that artist group, whatever, to even just get to like, okay, I'm gonna follow them on Instagram. And then it's gonna take dozens or hundreds of more interactions to convert me into a super fan. And I just want to add that, like, another thing, like we were talking about, like, you don't need manager, you don't need, you don't need record deal, you don't need all this stuff, right? And I'll add to that list, you don't need editorial playlists.
No,
Editorial playlists are great and amazing,
of course.
but when you get them, it's what you do with it, right? And so you can't just get that. What I mean is you can't just get the playlist and then you're famous.
Home free.
Right?
Nope, not happening. Yeah.
Because they're still really passive when you're listening to them, right? Like if you shuffle New Music Friday every Friday, you're just listening to songs and you might not know who they are. Like if there's a new band in there, yeah, it's just passive. And you might even be like, oh yeah, I like this song. And you kind of like click the plus thing and you add it to your library. And like you might have not even looked at the artist's name because you're driving in the car and you're listening to the song, and you know what I mean? And so it's like it still takes like so much. So every chance you have to put yourself out there, and the more music you release, and the more times that someone sees you, the more likely they're going to become a fan. And it's literally just you got to step up to the plate a lot. You got to get a lot of at bats.
It's really interesting, Todd. Because we live in a world where you can become famous really quickly, but we also live in a world where it takes longer to become famous because of how much saturation is there, right? Like you just mentioned finding an artist on Spotify first, right? That's like the auditory aspect, right? You listen to the song, you don't even think about the artist. Like we do it passively. It's just kind of what we do. Like how I sometimes discover new music is I'll find a song and then I'll go to radio of that. And Spotify actually does a pretty good job of that, I will say. Especially these new like day lists that they've been doing. I've definitely been exposed to a lot of new music. But like somebody will be like, have you heard of this artist? I'm like, no. I'll look them up. I'm like, shit, I got 2 liked songs from them. What?
All the time.
Right?
All the time.
And then on social media, where I'm doom scrolling and don't even want to be. I mean, I think, it's funny you mentioned that you're sober. I think a lot more people are coming out as low alcohol, sober, all these things, right? So like just the whole paradigm is shifting just in our generation. But if you think about like, I think I saw that person on Instagram before. How do I know that face? You know what I mean? And you're like, I don't know who they are. I can't put a face to the name, right? And then like months go by and you're like, oh, wait, that person, that's months go by. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll follow them. Then you don't see their feed because Instagram only shows you 10% of the people that follow you, right? So it's just like you're shrinking. So that's why I believe now more than ever, it's going back to like I mentioned, grassroots, man, buzz marketing, your friends talking about them, your friends, your family, people you trust, because the internet is a dark place sometimes. You're paying for ads, you're competing with big businesses. Like there's so many things to consider. So just like you said, focus on these fans by being you, and it will eventually happen.
Exactly. And you did make a comment about like people can become famous really quickly, but I would also argue that like the vast majority of those people have no ticket value. So like, they have followers and views and streams and like that kind of stuff. But if they come to Chicago, can they sell tickets at Spy Bar? Right?
No.
And
fuck no.
Right. And so that's the thing, right? It's like, you can have a reel that pops off and you get like 50,000 followers, but like let's just say you were making this reel and you did like a cooking joke and you popped off, and then all these people that are into like cooking and baking, they follow you, and then your audience is like totally messed up because it's not people that are going to like your music, right? And so I think that's a thing that we actually see a lot is people go viral for something that is not related to their music, and then they end up with a messed up demographic of followers. Then their future posts that are about the thing that they actually do, whether that's music or art or whatever, those posts tank because the followers aren't into that, right?
So fucking
So,
funny, man.
so it's like if you go viral, you got to go viral the right way.
Yeah.
And if you go viral the right way, then you gotta follow up. You gotta, you gotta keep hitting with your authenticity and your good stuff.
Yeah.
And, try to convert those people into real fans, because one video with 100 million views doesn't result in many ticket sales in North America or worldwide.
No, and that's one thing that I always want artists to know. Let's say you do have a video or a song go viral, right? That's awesome. That's great. That's going to get you big exposure. Let's say you get lucky and it's a music related video and you're premiering a track and you're still early on in your career, or you're maybe like midway through your career.
And I'm going to give an example of like the best version of this is like Mo Chalk.
Yes.
Like that guy went viral doing what he does, totally natural.
Yep.
And now all these people, like I was listening to his music in 2018, 2017.
Yep.
He had this song on OKNF Records called Boomerang. I used to play that song in my sets all the time.
He's been
right?
around. Yeah.
He's been, so like that's not an overnight success. He's been here. He's been in the game for a while, but he went viral literally because he was being himself and doing what he does. And that's resulted in him becoming a household name in this community.
That's the right way to do it. And think about how long he'd been doing it, and then just it was very TikTok related how it happened, but he translated that. So that's a good example of going viral. Let's say it's a bad example of going viral, and you have a song that does well and you're lining up all these shows and these, high level promoters and talent buyers like, this guy's huge on social media, he's in with the younger generation, whatever, let's book him on a headline tour. You go to New York, you go to fucking LA, you go to Seattle, you go to Omaha, you go to fucking Grand Rapids, Michigan, and no one's coming to your fucking shows because nobody knows who the fuck you are because you've never DJ'd before, right? Guess what? It's going to be really hard to bounce back from that because talent buyers, you get one chance. I mean, you'll get more chances depending, but if they lose money on you because they decided to take a chance on your following, but your following isn't, it's not that it's not real, but it's not your following, like you mentioned, Todd.
Yeah.
It's
well, it's a following for a different reason. And so when you have a show, they're going to be like, you have a show? I just want more cooking jokes. Right?
I didn't mean to follow you if you're a DJ, like my bad.
Yeah, what? Yeah. And that's a really good point. And actually I'll share this story. I won't say who it was, but a label manager friend of mine told me this story where, they kind of accidentally ended up in this situation where a video was going viral and the wrong audience was following them. And you know what I mean? It was just an accident, It was just like they put this video up because they thought it was cool and it started to hit and it started getting like, millions of views, and they were watching it very closely. Like they were watching what type of accounts were following them, and they were noticing that it wasn't the right demographic. And so what they did was they turned the comments off on the post and they slowed down how viral it was going.
Wow.
Because they could have let it keep going.
Yeah.
But they anticipated that in the long run this wasn't going to be good for the brand. And so I think that was a super smart decision by them. They suppressed what the post could have done.
Yeah.
Because they needed to maintain the demographic of the audience that they had.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even think about something like that. Talk about like battening up the floodgates, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it's super interesting, and you got to be careful of that. Actually, Alex and I kind of ended up in a situation where we were trying to decide if we were going to do something like that. We ended up not doing it. Alex had this video that went like semi-viral because he got picked up in the airport for a show. Actually, it was in Newfoundland, Canada, which is hilarious.
There we go.
And he got picked up at the airport, and the taxi driver was playing Sandstorm in the cab, and he was playing like the spoons on his knee, like while he was driving the cab listening to Sandstorm. And so Alex posts this video, Cloverdale, and it's nuts, right? It's just a funny video of this cab driver, and this cab driver is like being himself. Like, this isn't staged. This is like, this is just what happened to him. And we decided to keep it because we were like, well, it's dance music, and it's related to you being on tour and going. This is me on the way to the show, right?
Yeah.
And so we let it fly, right? We let it go, and then we just made sure that his next few posts were followed up with like his real music stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so it's like, let's make sure that this audience is cool with your other stuff, and if they're not, they'll go away, which is fine. Like, if they're not for you and they hit the unfollow button, then so be it. Don't lose any sleep over that anytime.
Interesting. Yeah. Smart though. Wow, dude. Good viral and bad viral. Look at us.
Yeah, absolutely. Not like COVID.
Not like COVID, no. So you mentioned something earlier that I do want to give you the chance to talk about, and it's software and how it's helped you manage Cloverdale and things with the label. Can you tell us more about that? I'm very interested.
Oh man, how many hours do we have?
we got a little bit of time left for you, my friend. I'll let you share whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh, that's funny. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it's just something that I don't hear about a lot. And I have tons of friends and people that work in the music industry, and I don't hear a lot of them talking about like how they stay organized and how they automate things. And I'm just like such a believer in like having good process.
Me too.
And like earlier, we talked about doing label releases, and then like, okay, make sure that you get on the phone and talk to the label, and make sure that you come up with a plan with them and do this. And I think the exact same thing applies for playing your shows, right? Like, you book a show, like get on with the marketing team and have a brainstorm together and do all this stuff, right? But one thing that I noticed is that like every time you have a show or every time you have a release, like there's a lot of the same stuff that you have to do, right? And some of it is like boring and monotonous, but you got to do it, right? And so for artists that are out there, you got to learn how to do this stuff. And so like, for example, like whenever you have a show, and so like, let's say you have a show and you want the venue to run some ads, right? So instead of you going to them being like, hey, run some ads for me, I just go, hey, here's the dark ads copy. if you want it. And I send them like a PDF that's like quotes from Cloverdale that they could like use in an ad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then where I'm getting to with this is for every show and every release, I just automate that and I like change like, just change like the song title or change the, like where the gig is or whatever. Right. Instead of just like having to like make this up every time. And so then we were like, oh, like, what else, like what else can we automate, And so like the reason why I want to bring this up is because like there's so many artists out there and we talked about like learning how to do it yourself and, learning how to get by without having a manager. And so I truly believe that if you're going to manage being creative and making music and also handling a lot of the business aspects, well, like automate as much of the business stuff as you can. So I'm gonna give you I don't want to go like super deep into this, but like you don't need to know how to code, you don't need to know, like you just like basically kind of need to know how to use Excel, but barely. There's there's this software that I use called Zapier, Zapier. What's really cool is it's like it connects like a bunch of different softwares together.
Yeah.
And so the way we use it is like so it's like you have a gig. So then we put in like a form, like all the information about the gig, and then it spits out like the invoice and the dark ads copy and the contract, and it's even craps out like a thank you email to send to the promoter after the show. And so it's like, and so then you have all of this stuff that's made for you, and you can then do your part as an artist with like the release and with with the show. And so I'm just like, I really think that there's a lot of things that you can do to own your career, and I don't want you to get like too bogged down in the business stuff while you're self-managed. And so I think if you're a little creative, you can automate a lot of the stuff. Like we are even to the point where it spits out a spreadsheet that you can upload into like Sound Exchange to like register for your royalties. And like, there's like a bunch of stuff that you can do. Like you can, when you have a show, you can make a spreadsheet that you can upload to Bands in Town and Songkick so that like all your stuff appears on there. Like, and so, like, just like, cause you probably have this list of like crap that you have to do for every show.
Out of a molehill, bro. Everything seems like I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this individually, which you end up just not doing.
Yeah. And then like sometimes you forget stuff, and like, oh man, I can't tell you, like we're booking Vibrancy Festival right now, and we are like looking, like before we reach out to an agent to see if the artist is available, well, we just look them up on Bands in Town or Songkick or whatever. And like there's like announced shows for this person that aren't on these sites. Right. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you guys are big artists, like get that up there, And so it's just like, I think because one of the things I worry about is like, I come on here and I say like, you got to learn how to do this yourself. You got to do this, you got to do this. And then people listening are going to be like, oh, that takes so much time. And it does. And it does. But I think that there's ways to speed that up. And so, I want people to get creative. And if I'll offer, if anyone wants to hit me up on Instagram or something like that, if they want to ask any questions about automating their music tasks, then I'm down to help.
That's so nice of you, Todd. And unbelievable, man. And I think, especially like we talked about an indie artist, let's just say an upcoming artist, someone that's got to learn it all, make it as easy as you can for yourself too. One thing that I always encourage is outsource where you can and when you can afford it. Like Sherman the Booth, the editing is outsourced to someone that I've had a relationship with now she literally is in South Africa. She's awesome. Suzette.
Yeah.
She's the best, right? And her and I have a great deal that helps me like focus on the product because I can afford it, right? So like if you can afford to automate, do that shit, man. Like don't do it all on your own. You don't have to.
Yeah. And also like use Fiverr.
Yeah.
Fiverr is awesome.
It is.
Like I think a platform that we underutilize and we're about to not be people that underutilize it is YouTube.
Yep.
And you know, it's like whenever you have a release, like you get that like kind of like generic like album art song on YouTube, right?
Visualizer, yep.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, you know, hey, like we gotta have a video for every song, like even if it's simple and even if it's like, because you know YouTube is probably one of the best places for discovery right now for musicians, for people that want to find like actual music, not like influencers, right? And so like it's like, okay, well, let's go on Fiverr and try to talk to some people on there and find someone that can make like a cool visualizer or like a lyric video or something like that for like $30 or $40, right?
Easy,
and
dude, AI can do that shit for you too.
Oh, don't get me going. I love my Chat GPT.
That's the opposite safe word right there. Yeah.
Yeah, you got 3 more hours. Let's go.
Perfect. We're going into phase 2 of the Todd Mercer interview right now.
But yeah, man, I mean, like at the end of the day, like there's so many tools out there, and like man, like AI, like you can't like use it to make everything, but you can definitely use it to help. And oh man, there's a really cool synth that Chasing Luma showed me. It's called Sin Plant. Have you heard of that?
No.
Oh man, it's like an AI synth that takes like an audio sound and it turns it into like an actual synth, not just like a, you know what I mean? I'm not a producer, but like he was showing me how it, like you could put in like a one shot, like you could put in a drum, and then it'll make like 4 synths that sound like it, but then you can modify it and turn the knobs. And anyways, it's really cool.
Holy shit, that's so dope.
Yeah, so if you're trying to like if you're trying to engineer a sound that you know already exists, but then you're just trying to make something that's like close to it, then you can kind of like pop it in, get your starting point, and go from there. So I'm a big fan of using AI as a tool for creativity, not as a replacement for creativity.
Okay. Wow, I like that.
You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. AI
inspire creativity instead of replace it.
Yes. Yeah. Because one of my friends just showed me literally an AI that can just make a track. You just type in progressive house happy and it's like not bad. And you're like, fuck, dude, what the fuck? You can tell though, like you can tell, you know, it's like it's good, but it's like this wasn't made by a human. So like I know what you mean there. It's like,
yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. If it's good, but it's not gonna be you.
Yeah.
And so then what's your next song? Right? Like, is your next song gonna have that same style if you're just using AI, right? So it's like, how do you develop a style if you do that, right?
That's what it's meant to be, right? It's like you said, it's meant to enhance, it's meant to inspire, it's meant to help you create, but not create. Honestly. Yeah.
Speaking of like having a style, you know, one thing that I think is super slept on and you know, is really cool is like people just going in and messing around and not doing things like technically the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you gotta break the rules to come up with your own style.
True.
And I think that's definitely something that we thought about early on with Cloverdale, because it was like, yeah, like some of this sounds weird, but it's different, you know, and it like
Yeah.
it kind of breaks the rules.
Yep.
And so, you know, definitely think that there's like, because like there's a lot of people out there now that are like, you know, I wanna be like really technically proficient in the DAW.
Mhm.
Or I want to, you know, I want my bass to sound like Chris Lake.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like I think you just gotta try to do things and mess around, and like you're gonna develop your own sound. And that's like almost all of the artists that have had like real longevity have, you know, had a sound like a something that is sort of distinct to them, but then they evolve around it.
For sure.
You know, it's like you could put on like a Blue Claire song right now, and like both of us would be like, yeah, that's definitely Blue Claire.
Great
You know, even
example.
if we've never heard the song before,
Yeah.
right?
Great example.
And because I think he just messed around and found things that worked, and you know, has like an identity, and then you can evolve around that, you know. And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of what Cloverdale does too. Like, you know, he just like has like crazy drums that swing and groove, and like, you know, there's just like something about it that's unspoken,
Yeah.
you know.
He's not afraid to make
And
mistakes.
yeah, exactly. Happy little accidents like Bob
Yeah.
Ross.
I was gonna say that next, dude. Happy little accidents. That's right. And it's so true. Like when you just go in and you say almost you start a session and saying, fuck it, dude. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
start with the nucleus of this track. Or like I remember I started doing this again recently. Like when I first started producing, right? Like of course this was like the Hardwell days, you know, and Skrillex and shit like that. And I would just take like a little MIDI controller and plug in Massive, which is a synth,
Yeah.
as many listeners out there know. And I would just go big room and I go, and I go,
Super saw.
I am Hardwell. I'm literally Hardwell. Like there's no difference, right? And
Yeah.
then I went into this phase sort of where I'm like, I need to make like really sick underground music because that's what's hot right now, you know? And I was like, this
Yeah.
isn't me. And then over the past year, I'm like back to that, like, what is something that makes me feel it? You know? So I go
Yeah.
outside my comfort zone a little bit because that's where the fun happens, you know? And it's like, then I put it out and I feel good about it, and then I'm on to the next one. And that's who I am now. And I love that you said that earlier, Todd, because that hit so hard. Because a lot of times when I say to an artist, what's your favorite song? And they go, one that I haven't released yet. And I go, when's it coming out? They go, 8 months. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
That sucks for your fans too, and it sucks for the artist. So just like get that shit out there. And when you're in the studio, just be ready to create, get uncomfortable, have fun. Like that's the
Yeah.
cool thing about DAWs is there's unlimited possibilities. Unlimited.
Yeah. And hey, I mean, let's like bring this full circle. Like, use that same philosophy too for your marketing, and
Yeah.
use that same philosophy for like, you know what I mean? It's like if you're just copying what other people are doing, then you know, you're not really getting anywhere. I know that's not groundbreaking, but one thing that
Said.
one thing that that Alex and I used to do all the time is we would sort of like sit down and we would be like, okay, what is everyone else doing? Let's do the exact opposite, you know?
Love that.
And
Yeah.
so, like, an example of this is like with Vibrancy. So, like, with Vibrancy, we were like, okay, what's like the theme gonna be for the album art? And so we sort of sat there and we were like, okay, well, like, what is everyone doing? And it's like, it's like literally everyone is using some form of graphic design
Yeah.
as their album art, which is cool. It's fine, whatever, right?
Yep.
But then we were like, okay, well, how about on our album art, we use a real life art piece, like a real life art. And so what we've done for every Vibrancy release almost, especially the ones that aren't Cloverdale songs, is we've partnered with a real life artist and showcase a piece of their art within the album cover. So we've worked with jewelers, we've worked with sculptors, we've worked with graffiti artists, we've worked with fashion designers,
Painters, obviously.
we've and then I actually, a lot of times I end up buying the piece of art and like I have it, which is cool. I have a bunch of them in my office.
So
And we worked with fire dancers and like, so it's like almost all the Vibrancy releases have that like actual real component to the art. And so then that's like one of the pieces of content that we use to promote the music is like a showcase of the visual artist.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that's just one example of where we were like, okay, like, how do we do like the exact opposite of everything that's going on right now? And same thing with just like, just think about like your budget, and it's like, okay, what is everybody doing right now to promote their music and get it to DJs?
Yep.
Right. So we see a lot of people like spending a lot of money on like in-flight and stuff like that, which is cool if you have like a pretty big track and a pretty big budget, that it's like really gonna hit.
Yeah.
But like that's also starting to become a pretty crowded space.
Yes.
And so what we've done to be different is to just literally manually send the track out to, a bunch of people.
Yep.
And just literally personal touch, right? And it's more work, but it's different and it stands out.
That's right.
Right. And it's, like there's no shortcuts. And that's kind of the problem right now is, I think there's a lot of people that are trying to find shortcuts, and sometimes you just got to pull your socks up and do the hard thing.
God, dude, that's so true. So fucking true. And we do that with in-flight as well. Like it literally comes from DJ Susan, like in-flight is how the DJs mostly receive tracks. But we go out there, we DM our favorite DJs, we send them personally to people. That's another thing that I did with Toxic as well. I literally had like a care package where I gave them Toxic, I gave them 2 unreleased songs, I gave them some edits that I had just released. And people were like, fuck yeah, this is perfect. Thank you so much. Right. And you just take the time to do that. And in this world, picking up the phone, reaching out directly, that should be like the bare minimum, in my opinion. But that stands out. So it's like you can make it. It's a little more work, but you can make it easier on yourself to stand out.
Yeah. One of the things that we do with Vibrancy is so we sign your record and then we send you this like little form where we want you to like tell us about yourself and like send us some like, candid non-music press pictures of you. You know what I mean? Like just like some real stuff. And then a question that we ask on this form every single time is list 10 DJs that you want to hear this song. Right. And so then I manually try to send it to those 10. Right.
That's awesome.
And so it's like, and that comes from the artist. It's like, who do you want? And hey, if they say Tiesto, like I'm gonna try. It's probably not gonna work, but I'm gonna try.
You also never know though, dude. You never fucking know.
Yeah. And dude, like literally like shoot your shot every time. If you leave the email in the drafts, then no one's ever gonna see it. I've with my new project that I'm working with, Chasing Luma, he's more in the like pop indie dance world, bedroom pop, like that kind of thing.
Cool.
And there's some big labels in that space, and like literally I sent this email to like some of the I actually like didn't have this person's email, and I just like like made up like what I thought their email would be. Like
Yeah, of
like it's
course.
like M Sherman at
Yeah.
whatever,
Right.
right? And so I literally just like I knew this person's name, but I didn't know their email, and so I just like made it up, and I sent like four of them. On the fourth one, it actually delivered. Like, because it comes back, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
we
of
don't
course.
have
You're getting
this
closer. You're
address.
hacking in the system. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then on like the fourth one, and I think the subject line of the email was I'm shaking up my pair of dice, right? And I was just like, I'm just shooting my shot. I'm just rolling the dice, right? And
Love
he
that.
answered me back. And
Beautiful, Todd.
and now we're chatting, right? And so it's like it's not rocket science. It's just hustle and creativity, and just like shoot your shot, but also don't be a weirdo about it. Like realize, like, manage your expectations. Like they probably don't want to work with you, but
Yeah.
like but at the very least you can start a dialogue and
Yeah.
introduce yourself. And that's one thing too, like whenever I'm really reaching, like I won't say things like, hey, like I won't say like, here's some demos for you to consider for the label. I'll sort of say, hey, I want to introduce you to this artist. I just
Yeah.
want this person to be on your radar.
Yeah.
I understand that they're probably too small for your label right now.
Mhm.
Totally get that. They definitely aren't ready for your label right now. But I want you to be aware that they exist.
That's awesome.
And someday they are going to be ready, right? And that goes a long way, because if you just say, I want you to sign my track, and like you said earlier, like I have no prior releases, I have 5 social media posts, whatever, like the answer is just no, right? But if you say, I want you to know that I exist,
Yep.
and I'm going to work really hard, and I'm not ready yet, but I'm going to be, that goes so much further,
Dude,
in my opinion.
that's amazing. What a great approach. What a genuine way to do it too. And what a humble way to do it too. Cause like everybody comes out there and says, you should sign this track. It's perfect for you. Well, how do you know what's perfect for me?
Oh man, like it's so funny too, because like, I say this all the time. We always send packs, right? We send demo packs with like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs, whatever. Just depends on like how many we think sort of fit the label.
Yep.
And almost every time we sign a record, I'm like, that is not the song I thought they were gonna pick.
That's
Like,
is so true.
I never know what is the right fit for them. I've got to be the worst A&R person in history, because like every time I make up a playlist, I'm like, okay, I'll throw this one in.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, that one's hot. I'm like, all right.
Hey, cool. Take it. It's all yours.
And like that happens so much. It's crazy. Like, don't be sending dubstep songs to a house label, but like,
know your audience.
Like they might, like, you don't see their next like 4 or 5 releases, right? You don't see like 4 months into the future. You don't see the picture how they see the picture, right? And they know, like, let's say, in September, they know that their first couple of releases in September are like kind of like a little different style, and so then they hear your song and they're like, oh, that'll fit perfect in there, because it follows these other 2 releases that are, but you don't see that. So yeah, never be cocky. Send a bunch of music, show them that you can make music too. Like, I can produce like a lot. I don't only have this one song.
That's why I said that earlier. Like, I want to know what else you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, like related to that is like, spend a lot of time in the DAW, make a bunch of music. And, one thing that we talk a lot about is like, stocking up. I think that's like a general, like awesome rule of thumb for productivity in general. Um, I'll you might have Alex on again sometime, but I'll kind of like I'll talk about um what he's been kind of trying in the new year, like for productivity wise.
Hmm.
And we've thought that this is super interesting, I think. So what he's been doing is he's kind of has like a routine now where he focuses on like one of his like key elements of his career
Yeah.
for like a week, basically.
Okay.
So we have creative week. So it's like in this week, I am just gonna start new projects. Not gonna look at any of my old stuff. I'm gonna get super weird, creative, and I'm gonna make a bunch of new ideas. I'm not gonna finish them. I'm just gonna get a bunch of projects started.
Sick.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have like creative week. So then he has this like pool of whips that that he can play with. And then the next week is like YouTube week. So Cloverdale has like an educational YouTube channel called Cloverdale's Studio. And so it's like, okay, then this week we're just going to work on videos for YouTube, which sometimes results in writing some music because you're doing it as part of the video. So it's like you're getting two birds stoned at once, right? And then the next week is finishing week. So it's like I'm not going to start any new ideas this week.
Yeah.
I'm just going to grab my favorite things that I've started and I'm going to try to move the needle and bring those closer to being done, right?
Wow.
And then the last week is Vibrancy week, where he super focuses on vibrancy and preparing for that release and listening to a lot of demos and trying to sign a couple records and whatever. And then obviously like you're gonna spend time on other stuff, but it's like this is the focus. Like this is the focus for these weeks. And anyways, it's been super cool because it's allowed him to like really like on creative week. It's like okay, you can like really get in the zone and like start like a lot of stuff. And then like if like a couple weekends later, like you're on a plane and you're like flying across the country to go to a show, and it's like, oh yeah, I do. Like maybe I'll just pick away at one of these whips that I started, right?
Yeah,
you have all this stuff. Yeah. And having that pipeline of started projects then just allows you to be like so much more productive in finishing music once you get in that zone.
Yes.
To, because it's like it's a flow state.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I love that because like I can't start an idea always. But sometimes if you get in that zone, start a few of them and then you come back to them when you're in a middle or I can finish the song mentality. This is fucking incredible.
Yeah. And then that's allowed him to then have some like pretty big playlists now that, we're shopping around, right? And so then I can send someone like playlists with like 7 or 8 songs, and those aren't his only 7 or 8 songs. He's got 40 more,
Yeah.
And it's like, but like having that ammo and then like finding and then like I said, then we can kind of look at those 20, 30, 40 songs and we can kind of say, okay, like this one's our favorite. And guess what we do? We don't send it to the labels, we release it ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like we don't put the throwaway tracks on Vibrancy.
No,
we put our favorite tracks on Vibrancy.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the other tracks we really love too, and we're shopping those around because we want to find like a label that's as passionate about these songs as we are.
Mm-hmm.
But like we put our favorite songs out on the label. We don't save it,
I like
right?
that
Like,
attitude. Yes.
yeah, don't put your throwaways out on the self-release. Put your best stuff out, and then you're gonna just want to promote it and push it and get it to as many people as you can, like extra hard, because
That's so
you
true.
you own it too and you control it, right?
Yeah, and you can feel that energy. Fans know like when you're about that track, or like you don't push it in a way that is clear that you're excited about it. Like it's easy. Even though we live in this weird world where, we're not sure who people are. If you're an artist that's promoting your music, it's pretty easy to tell who's excited about it and who's like, yeah, just happy to get it out,
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah, and like, that's the thing. If we're not excited about it, then we don't want to do it.
yeah.
And that's comes back to what we talked about earlier about like signing a track like 6 or 7 or 8 months out. Like we did that and we learned our lesson. Like every time we did that, we ended up not being fired up about the track when it came time to put it out, right? Like every time we did that. And so then we were just like, okay, let's just not do that
Yeah.
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 And honestly, I haven't run in. I'm sure I'm gonna end up with like a tough decision soon where that's gonna come up, and I'm gonna have to like decide if we're gonna break that rule or not.
Right.
But so far, we've just been sort of like, if someone wants to sign a track like really far out, we'll usually just try to say, hey, if you end up having like a random last minute opening or something like that comes up, then we can try that because we don't want to do it that far away.
Yeah. Fuck, man. That's a great mentality to have, Todd. I hope that hits people because it definitely resonates with me. Like that's how it goes for me in Hood Politics and DJ Susan Hood Politics. Like he's currently he's almost done with his deal he has with another label, but his best track that he's like most excited about is coming out on Hood Politics in
Nice.
July. Same thing with me. Like what was crazy with Toxic, just to bring it full circle again here at the end, is after I released that, so many people hit me up, labels hit me up, DJ friends hit me up. They're like, dude, you should have sent that here, you should have sent that there, you should have done this. And I go, nope. Like that was for Hood Politics, man. Like that's just how I feel about it. And I am, like I have a new track coming out on a label that I've never released on, Uprise Music, on Friday. And
nice,
like,
congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, they hit me up and they're like, we love Toxic. What else you got? I'm like, this is perfect, dude. Like
yeah,
the recipe worked. So that wasn't even the goal necessarily, but like it leans into exactly what you said, where it's like, I'm gonna take my best work and put it out on something that means something to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple.
And and then the marketing and stuff that like sometimes you dread gets way easier when you're pumped.
I had a lot of fun with it, dude, and I still am.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Love that.
So
we need to bring in the Toxic tour to Canada,
dude. As soon as I can, man. I think I want to do a little Canada show run sometime in the next year. That would be awesome. I mean,
nice.
Tech House does really well in Canada. It's like it's blowing up there, and
right.
We love Return of the Jaded. I mean, Broken Future guys. They're not doing their thing anymore, unfortunately. They're doing drum and bass now, of course. So
whoa, all right,
that's taking over. That's for sure. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it is. But we have so many friends in Canada that it's amazing to see how much the scene is thriving there and growing a lot. I mean, in North America in general, I would say like it's blowing up.
Man, I'm all about like not being bound by genre, like just like you said, those guys are making D&B, like that's cool. They like that's what they're into right now. And like like Alex, like Cloverdale sets now, like they've got Tech House, they've got Techno, they got UKG, they got Breaks,
yep,
they got D&B, they got hard techno. They got like that bouncy melodic kind of stuff, like
Yep.
like Trick
Yes.
label and like
Yes.
that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And like it's just got everything. It's got bass music, like, and we're just like, yeah, like play the songs that you like, and who cares, right?
That's
Long
dude. That's
as,
me too.
yeah, and then the audience that comes to the show like really gets to go on a ride.
With
And
you.
yeah, and that's super fun. That's what we're all about. And honestly, like I think too, as an artist, like we were talking earlier about like things that you can do to stand out, like, and just immediately be better than 90% or 95% of people, like have a unique DJ set is one of those things.
I
Because I
know that
think,
almost should be
oh,
obvious.
yeah, but like it's so weird. Like, if you go to a festival and like, a lot of sets I've been seeing lately are just like not that inspiring. Super fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like that, like, old jaded guy.
No,
But
you're fine, Todd. I agree, man. Like I try and especially like on this tour, like I fucking brought it and I played songs that like I know all the words to. Flipping
yeah,
genres didn't fucking matter. Never had so
yeah,
much fun DJing because it's my duty to deliver them an experience. They went out of their way to come see me. If they wanted to hear Beatport Top 10, go fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
you're here to hear music that DJ loves, that has earned that right to be on that stage and hopefully give you a one of a kind experience. So Cloverdale sets are one of a kind. That's for fucking sure.
And they just keep getting crazier.
Are you his biggest fan, do you think? Are you
Oh
known?
yeah, I have to be. Have to be.
Yeah.
Although like
What about
every
Lenny?
year,
Is Lenny the number one fan though?
no, me.
Yeah, that's right. Get out the
If
way,
your man
Lenny.
if your manager isn't your number one fan, then you got the wrong manager, right?
I love that,
And
dude. Yep.
like that's the way it has to be. You got to be their number one fan. You got to be their best friend. Like that's the way. That's the only way it works, in my opinion. And even though Radiohead and Arctic Monkeys always beat him out on my Spotify Wrapped, but he's always in the top five.
That's good. That's a good way to put it. I understand. I can respect Radiohead and Arctic Monkeys, my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, this has been so much fun. I was already your biggest fan before this, but now I'm an absolute
Oh,
diehard. I'm running the Todd Mercer fan club, but I really do have a lot of respect for you, man. Like I mean that as someone who recognizes real. Like, dude, you're in it for all the right reasons. You and Cloverdale are a huge inspiration for me and DJ Susan and Hood Politics, and it's just good to be connected with people like you guys in the industry, man. Because I think it can get a bad rap sometimes, but I'm kind of yet to have that experience, and I think it's because I keep surrounding
yeah.
myself with people like you guys, and I'm just like
Oh
having a
man.
great time.
Dude, I appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
And, I love you and
love
respect you.
you.
And it's been like so amazing to see you and Hood Politics and Susie, like, just like rising and
It's fun,
crushing. And
dude.
like,
Yeah.
it couldn't happen to better people. And yeah, dude, on your comment of like, sometimes the industry gets a bad rap, I'm like in the same boat. Like, I'm from a small town and I fly to LA a bunch and go to shows and meet people.
Right.
And everyone around here is like, "Oh, LA is so fake and so whatever." And I'm like, dude, all the people that I meet in the music are so inspiring and
Yep.
fun and
Yep.
awesome. And I don't know if that's just luck, but I've I've met so many awesome, fun people that are doing it and love it and are passionate. And it's like super healthy to have a passion and be following it. And that's what a lot of people in this industry are doing. And
Yep.
you've found 229 people on your podcast that are doing that, which is pretty cool.
That's true, man. I think by the time you come out, you might be episode 232, actually, Todd. How about that?
Yeah, well, there's 3 fake ones in there.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh. You're too
Well, dude, thanks. That was great, and I appreciate your podcast and platform, and it's so cool that people get to come on here and share their tips and tricks, and people listening at home get to learn and decide which of my ideas they hate and which ones they like.
God damn,
You
you
got to
are on the
be
line, dude.
the artist has to be the CEO of their project, and they can
Yes.
take in the ideas, and they got to decide what's right.
So true, brother. My God. Thanks for making the time and staying up late with us. For everybody that listened all the way through, we appreciate you. Make sure to follow this guy, Todd Mercer, and of course his artist Cloverdale. And what was the new artist name again, Todd?
Yeah, Chasing Luma, very
Chasing
cool.
Luma.
Kind of like Porter Robinson, 1975,
Cool.
like in that world.
It's awesome, man. And of course, make your way out to Halifax, Nova Scotia for Vibrancy Fest and keep an eye on this label. You know what? It's time for me to get a release on Vibrancy, man. It's long overdue. Let's fucking do it.
Let's go. Send over that high octane heat.
Yes.
Man, do I love Sherman the Booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherman the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.